Good day, everybody. This is E. Marcel Pertut. Welcome to another edition of the Sports Inquirer show slash Gridiron Blitz. Technically, it's the Gridiron Blitz, but we may touch on some other things outside the realm of football. But we're going to preview week 2 of the NFL season. We had a game last night, but technically, still going to be a preview of the rest of the contests that are taking place, as well as some other news and notes in the world of the NFL. As always, to follow everything that we are doing, head to the mothership, to sportsinquirer.net, premier site for news and notes in the world of sports. Got to send not a note that we have some really good content up there from some other sources outside of football. We have our exclusive interviews with Georgia Tech volleyball head coach Michelle Collier, as well as player Paula Pimento, the senior libero defensive specialist. And I'll be in Atlanta tonight for their match against Georgia in I guess the Georgia Tech Classic. It's going to be at McCamish Pavilion, the basketball arena that the program plays in. So that'll be a very unique experience. I should have some content from that and some recaps and thoughts as that takes place. You can also head to our social media platforms on Twitter and Instagram under Sports Inquirer. That's all one word. You can also go to our Facebook page under the Sports Inquirer. And then finally, head to our different platforms to get the content: YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcast, Anchor slash Spot stands up podcasters for Spotify, iTunes, and more. Just look up the Sports Inquirer at all of those platforms, and you'll be able to follow everything that we have going on. So, as I mentioned, week 2 has already started with a Thursday night game of Philadelphia defeating Minnesota 34-28. A slow start offensively for the Eagles in the contest, but ultimately Jalen Hurts finished with 3 total touchdowns, 2 TD passes to Devonta Smith. But the biggest factor in the two factors in the contest, the Eagles outrushed the Vikings 259 to 28. And I think you're looking at the formula of success for the Eagles. I think we saw Jalen Hurts last year have a really spectacular year, running up for MVP. And you think, okay, this is another year as a starter. Will he build on that? He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not uh, Justin Herberts or Tua or some of these other guys that just go back there and throw it 40, 50 times a contest and throw for 400 yards. And that's how they have their success. That's not his game. He needs to run the ball. The team needs to run the ball in general. And I mean, last year he had the most rushing touchdowns for a quarterback in the regular season history. So you have to look at it from that perspective. Now, credit to the Vikings, beginning of the contest, they were playing a zone deep. Brian Flores, the defensive coordinator for the Vikings, played a scheme where minimal rushers and more of a zone attack when as far as defending the Eagles. But once they ran the ball and had some success with that, that's when the corners and safeties, the defensive backs for the Vikings start playing more up. And that's what opened up some opportunities for long passes, including several strikes to Devonta Smith. So if the Eagles establish their run game and can get that going, then the passing will open up. And I think that's the formula they have to keep going with. But also, you have to look at Minnesota. I mean, that contest was there for the taking. I mean, Justin Jefferson had 159 receiving yards, another strong campaign for defending offensive player of the year. But turnovers have hurt the Vikings so many ways. Kirk Cousins, multiple interceptions thrown in the contest, just bad throws, unnecessary throws. Justin Jefferson going to the end zone and diving for the pylon, but losing the ball, and he fumbled it at the back of the end zone. So it ended up being no score. And before he was diving for it, before he could have possession of the ball and cross the goal line, he fumbled it and it went to the back of the end zone. And what that meant is it was a touchback, and Eagles got the ball and no score for the Vikings. So those types of turnovers are really, really critical. And I think the first 2 games of the season, Minnesota has 8 turnovers in the 2 contests. and they're 0-2. They haven't won a game yet, and they've both been single-digit contests. Last year, they were 11-0 with in single-digit contests. That's how you go from, or one possession games, I should say. So that's how you go from last year being 11-0 in one possession games to losing your first two this year when you do not protect the ball. And so I think Minnesota, that's why I did not rely on them to be a playoff team this year. And if you look at the rest of that division, there's some intrigue there with some other squads. They're going to put up points. They're defensively, they're not bad. They gave up a lot of rushing yards last week. So, but they're the type of team that's going to be in that 6 to 7 to 9 win range, and because the margin of error is so small. And when you turn the ball over as much as they have through the first two games, you're going to lose those contests. And that ultimately is going to hurt them, I think, in the long run. Let's get to the rest of the contest for the week, and we'll do some betting lines too. We're going to bring that back. I notoriously am really, really bad at betting lines. Like I'm good with picking who's going to win the contest and lose it, but by how much or how much a team will win. But if they don't win by a certain margin or for cover and all that stuff, yeah, I'm not very good at it. But it's fun to do, and I know some of you are really into the numbers like that. So we're going to do it again this year. I try to keep up with it and put my wins and losses, in the record books. And so you can see how track me throughout the year. It gets pretty ugly towards the middle of the season. I'm going to warn you now, but that's just the way things go. But we're going to try it and see what happens. Atlanta is a 1.5 point favorite at home over Green Bay. I'm going to take the Falcons to win this contest. I think that I like what I saw from Jordan Love last week for Green Bay against the Bears. Efficient, didn't turn the ball over, looked comfortable in the pocket. Obviously, he has started a game or two before for the Packers, but this is now the post Aaron Rodgers era. It's his team, so I think he did a solid job. I think as long as they have Dillon and they have Jones, the running backs, and get them the ball and have balance there, I think Packers could be a pretty solid team this year. But I think the Falcons have a little something going. I like what I saw against Carolina. I think the running attack is going to be really impressive. Now, I know that they want to get Pitts and Drake London probably the ball more on the outside, get them more involved in the scheme. But Desmond Ridder was efficient, no turnovers in the contest. The new starting quarterback I guess he started some games last year, but now he has started the season as the quarterback for the Falcons. But I think you have Algier. He had 1,000 yards rushing last year. That may have been the best we've seen him in as a Falcon against Carolina. And I think to draft him as John Robinson, your running back in the first round, trying to take your position, might have been a big motivation for him. But I think with Algier and Robinson, who I still think is going to have a really big year, you combine those two together, that gives the Falcons a really, really good chance. They're going to be in a lot of contests this year. Now, whether they win or lose them, that's going to be tough. That's why I think you're going to see a lot of one possession games for Atlanta. And the defense was not bad. I know they faced Bryce Young, rookie quarterback, but multiple interceptions, was able to pressure him. I mean, Carolina is not a very good team, but it's a win. So, but I think in this contest, I'm going to take Atlanta to have some ball control, be able to run the ball, and be able to eke out maybe two with a late field goal to seal the victory for Atlanta over Green Bay. Let's see, Buffalo is an 8.5 point favorite at home against Las Vegas. You got to figure Buffalo bounces back from that Monday night debacle against the Jets. You saw Aaron Rodgers go. We'll get to the Jets, in a moment and get a game against Dallas coming up on Sunday. But Aaron Rodgers goes down. He's not in the contest. Zach Wilson's in there. You got to figure you should beat the Jets in that scenario. But the Bills just want turnovers. Josh Allen, multiple turnovers, fumbled the ball once, threw several interceptions, forcing the ball to Stephon Diggs. Just no balance on the Bills' offense, and that really hurt them. And I know the Jets have an elite defense, but still, that was not a good effort for Buffalo. So you got to figure coming home, they got to take control of that division and you cannot drop a home game to Las Vegas. And credit to the Raiders for winning their season opener against Denver. But I don't think that talent wise, the Raiders are close to Buffalo. You got to think Buffalo comes in here. I'm picking them to win the contest. The line's 8.5. Buffalo needs to win this contest by double digits. I mean, they need to win the game any way you can, but double digits, but for sure. If Buffalo is that team that many of us think they can be, I personally have them as a division winner and a Super Bowl contender. So if they're going to be that type of team, they need to get a big victory over the Raiders, and that's what I see happening. Detroit is actually we'll go to Baltimore is a 3-point underdog at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a 3-point favorite at home against Baltimore. I'm taking the Ravens to win this contest. Yes, and the Dobbins injury, running back torn Achilles out for the season, that really hurts the Ravens because he is their top running back and they like to run the ball quite a bit. But I think Zay Flowers, the running back coming in, I think he can do a solid job there. And I think the Ravens, in a way, need to throw the ball more. You have Odell Beckham now as an outside threat. We know about Andrews, one of the best tight ends in the NFL. They're still going to, and Lamar, they're still going to run the ball. That's going to be a big part. That's going to be part of their offense. When you have Lamar Jackson, maybe the best running quarterback in the NFL, one of the best ever. As far one of the best quarterbacks as far as his running skills. He's not just a running quarterback. He can throw the ball very well too. I mean, his MVP campaign led the league in touchdown passes, so he's more than just a running quarterback. But the run is a big aspect of his game. So I think they're still going to do that quite a bit. But overall, I think this may be a chance for them to open up the offense a little bit more with the injury to Dobbins. So I have them going to Cincinnati, and the Bengals. I'm not going to lie, they're my Super Bowl champion. I have them defeating San Francisco in the championship. By the way, go to our website and go to our archives on all of our platforms. And you can hear my season preview. So it's a very interesting watch and read there because I did put the predictions in the lighter notes of the body of the post. But Cincinnati, I said, and I'm very concerned for their offensive line. Very concerned for Joe Burrow. 88 passing yards in his first week in that loss at Cleveland. That should never, ever, ever happen for a quarterback of that caliber with the weapons he can throw to. Jamar Chase alone should have 88 yards in a contest, and that's a minimum. So for Burrow to have that type of performance, I know he was injured through training camp and really didn't get a full acclimation to that. Maybe he started off the season slow. I mean, he definitely started the season slow, but maybe not in peak condition. But that should not happen for that offense. But also the offensive line. And I don't know who it was on social media. I wish I remembered who it was, but they were worried that he can turn into Andrew Luck, Joe Burrow. And that's the last thing you want. Andrew Luck, who was on his way to a multiple Pro Bowl, possible All Pro campaign, some would say Hall of Fame campaign, just broke down physically with all of the injuries. And a big part of that is the Colts' lack of protection on the offensive line and him just getting physically broken down. I don't know if Burrow is going to be at that level, but I mean, diminishing returns on your quarterback getting hit as much as he does in any offense. But when it means so much to the team, or like Burrow is for the Bengals, that's not a good sign for him having their struggles. So I think this is one of those games. I really want to take the Bengals to win it, but I have a sneaky feeling about Baltimore this year. I may have underestimated them. They're not in my playoff picture at all, but I think that I think they're going to be a sneaky, really, really good team this year. And I said Cincinnati has to figure out some of that protection, and I think that may take a while. And that's why I'm going to take the Ravens to go on the road and upset the Bengals in that contest because I think the quarterback, I think Jackson is in better form, better just state than Joe Burrow is right now. Is Burrow the better quarterback overall than Jack? Who's the better quarterback between the two? That's debatable. I like Joe Burrow myself, but Jackson is no slouch either. But I think right now Baltimore seems to be in this 1 week. I know, but Baltimore just seems to be in a better position overall right now. So that's why I'm going to take the Ravens to win that contest. All right, Detroit is a 4.5 point favorite at home over Seattle. The Lions are my NFC North Division champions, and I think that's going to continue to roll on. I think Seattle with Geno Smith, I think there's going to be 1 year too many for Geno. I don't like the rest of the talent in Seattle. I think they're below average overall. Yes, I think you have your standouts like Metcalf at receiver, but I don't like that roster at all. Detroit, I think, is on the rise. They are peaking or getting to that nice little peak level overall. Now it's very interesting. This could be this letdown game potential because we've all heard for 10 days how great the Lions were going to Kansas City, winning last Thursday night, that season opener. So they've heard a lot of accolades. And now they're going to come home to an inferior Seattle team. Is the guard down? I don't think so. I think there's a team that from last year won 9 games but didn't make the playoffs. I think that's a lesson for them to take every game seriously because I think they want to be in that playoff picture again this year. So that's why I'm taking Detroit to win that contest. Even the line of 4.5 is a little steep potentially because this game reeks of a late field goal for the Lions to weak it out, and that'd be less than 4.5 points. But we're going to take that chance. Tessie, the Chargers are a 3 point favorite at Tennessee. I'm going to take the Titans +3. Are the Chargers the better team? Yes, they are. Do they have a better quarterback? Oh, absolutely. Herbert and Ryan Tannehill, no contest. Do I? And I think if the Titans had a better option at quarterback, you'd be seeing it right now. Malik Willis, we saw last year, it's not him. He's not ready for that. Does he turn into that eventually? Maybe, but not right now. And then Will Levis, the rookie quarterback out of Kentucky, you're not going to go to him at this stage. So Tannehill's the guy, but man, just turnovers for him as well. I watched a decent amount of that game at New Orleans last week, and Derrick Henry was not at his best as far as running back, that's when you needed a guy like Tannehill to throw the ball for 300 plus yards, really take control of the contest, and will that team to a winnable game at New Orleans. That did not happen. And I said I'm concerned about Tennessee overall, as they weren't a playoff team for me anyway. But they'd be, if I was a supporter of that team, I'd be very concerned about the direction of that squad. Saying all of that, I'm going to take them +3 over the Chargers. Chargers are an enigma to me. Once again, they score a lot of points. They got talent on defense, but they seem to lose so many of these close games. And I think this is going to be a close game in Tennessee. And the Chargers still may win the contest, but I could definitely see it be a 1 or 2 point game. So that's why I'm picking the Titans to not win the game, but to make it very close, under 3 points. Tampa's a 2.5 point favorite at home over Chicago. Look, is Baker Mayfield the long-term answer for the Bucks? No, but he's competent enough to get them through this transitional kind of year. Chicago, they were I've had them at a playoff team, and I really want to like Justin Fields and just that team overall. But it's just something off with that squad. And I'm just going to take Tampa -2.5 over Chicago. Really, really intriguing contest here. I've been back and forth on it. But the actual line is Kansas City is a 3.5 point favorite on the road against Jacksonville. Here's the case for Kansas City. They're not gonna play as porous as they did against Detroit. Get Travis Kelce most likely coming back this week. Obviously, he is a huge part of their offense. Christian Jones, who just signed a 1 year deal to play out the rest of the season with some extra incentives, the all pro defensive lineman for Kansas City, he'll be back. I don't know if he's going to play on Sunday as we're recording this because he signed pretty late in the deal. So I don't know if they sit him out a week and then he plays, but he also wants to get that incentives, get that money. So I'm pretty sure if he is medically cleared, he's going to be out there playing, even though he did no training camp at all. We'll see how that goes for him. But overall, you look at he'll be back in rotation. So in Kansas City, that sometimes they start slow because they got to acclimate a lot of new offensive tools to the team. So you think Kansas City is all right? They're still going to be a team that's going to be in that Super Bowl contention, and this may be the type of contest where they break out a little bit and have a win there. Here's the case for Jacksonville, who I'm actually going to take a plus 3.5. I really like the direction the team is going. I think Trevor Lawrence is ready to put himself in that top five quarterback conversation overall. I think home opener be very big for the Jaguars. And once again, that line 3.5, that reeks of a late field goal, whether it's by Harrison Butker from Kansas City or a late score by one of the team's game-winning drive. 3.5 seems very high for me, especially for a road favorite. So that's why I'm gonna take the Jaguars to kind of cover myself. I think the Jaguars win the game, but even if Kansas City does win it, it's going to be by less than 3.5 points. That's how I'm rolling with that contest. Indianapolis +1 over at no, Houston is a 1 point favorite at home over Indianapolis. It's a coin flip. I think that at this stage, Anthony Richardson is a better quarterback than CJ Stroud. I think long term, I like Stroud over Richardson. But for at this week 2 of their careers, I think Richardson, the ability to run the ball and go on the perimeter and the outside, be a playmaker, as well as throw the ball. I think he is better at that and has a little bit more weapons and talent around him than Stroud does in Houston. By the way, I think Houston, there are some really bad teams. I think Houston and Arizona, they won't be historically bad. They're going to win a game or two, but they're going to not win a lot this season, and they're going to be playing wretched football. And that's just the Texans are in complete rebuild mode. That's kind of expected. Arizona, we'll get to them in a moment. A little bit different type of scenario. But I think that I'm taking the better quarterback and a better roster. Indianapolis +1 at Houston. San Francisco is a 7.5 point favorite on the road against the LA Rams. 49ers are my NFC champion heading into the Super Bowl. Yeah, no, Cincinnati and San Francisco. That's my Super Bowl pick. Just for somebody that didn't catch the preview from last week. And San Francisco looked really good last week against the Steelers. McCaffrey, 100+ yards of total offense. You saw Bosa and just wreak havoc in the backfield for the 49ers defense. Wagner established himself. Fred Warner, not Wagner, Warner established himself probably as the best middle linebacker in the NFL. They are stacked. Even Deebo Samuel, he didn't even really have a big game, and he's going to be due to be very involved in the offense. So, and Brock Purdy looked very competent. So I think they look like a Super Bowl team, the 49ers. Having said all of that, it's kind of similar to Detroit. They heard so much how great they were. Now they got to go to the Rams, a team that they're better than. But the Rams were a little spunk last week, going to Seattle, winning by double digits. Stafford is still healthy right now. You don't know how he's going to last through the entire year, but at this stage of the year, he is healthy and looked pretty solid. As far as that goes, I think he's going to break down later on in the season, and that's going to ultimately doom the Rams. But for now, he's fresh and ready to go. And 7.5 points road favorite, that's a lot of points. This reeks of a one-touchdown game. I still think San Francisco can win the contest, but by 7, that half point really is concerning to me because I think the Rams are going to be competent, especially at home. And I know they don't have the best home field advantage, but still, I think they're going to be a team. It's a divisional matchup. Very rare. That's why when you saw the blowout of Cleveland against the Bengals last week, or the Cowboys beating the Giants 40-0, it's very rare you see divisional matchups have that type of score because the teams are familiar with each other. They've played each other before. It's just divisional matchups bring out that intensity for both sides. So I think this one, the winner should still be the 49ers, but that 7.5 points is a little rich for me. So take the Rams to +7.5. The New York Giants, a 4-point road favorite at Arizona. This contest, good lord, good luck picking this one. Both those teams looked really, really bad in week one. The Giants, that was for a professional team, that was just I don't want to say pathetic performance, but it was very, very bad. Turnovers, lack of protection of the quarterback, couldn't rush the quarterback on the other end. Just there was not one positive you take away from that Giants contest. But Arizona is not a very good team either. I guess I'm gonna take the Giants minus the 4. Jones is a better quarterback than whatever Arizona's gonna throw out there. Maybe Saquon Barkley can get going and get some yardage. I would actually more down on Darren Waller, get more involved in the offense for the Giants. I think they find a way to get. Now the Giants still gonna be a bad team this year, not as bad as Houston and Arizona, but they're. But this is the type of game where they should win pretty handily. You would think, but we'll see what happens there. Dallas is 9-point favorite at home against the New York Jets. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers being out for the season with the torn Achilles, just devastating news. And look, I haven't been the biggest Aaron Rodgers advocate personally, but it's good for the league when you have top players playing their best. And Aaron Rodgers in New York was just a very intriguing storyline for us to see what happens with him being in that city, playing in that environment. We were all excited to see that. And man, that Monday night game was the start of it was amazing. I mean, I know September 11th as a New Yorker. Oh, I got to clarify. A native New Yorker living, no, I'm a New Yorker residing in Atlanta. There we go. Because I've been in Atlanta more than 10 years now. But I'm born and raised in New York. I'll never let that die. I'm a Giants fan, but I like the Jets too. You know, I don't there's nothing personal there, but still, every time it gets to September 11th, it's the first week of the NFL season. Emotional time for all New Yorkers. Emotional times for a lot of you out there listening for a variety of reasons, but especially someone born and raised in New York. You know, just the impact of that day and everything that went with it. I don't have to go into details on that. But when you have the opening of the season and you see all the tributes and things like that, and Monday night was September 11th, so I had all of the festivities and events in the city. Then you have the night game, and Aaron Rodgers running out with the American flag. She's like, "Oh my goodness, it's like straight out of a." I'm a big professional wrestling fan, and that was a straight out of a wrestling program. You know, the you have the newcomer to the franchise or newcomer to the organization carrying the American flag, very baby face, very positive images and things like that. And then first series, tears his Achilles, and just very tough to see that happen. What happens to the Jets the rest of the season? That defense is elite. I mean, they are special. I think they have a lot going on there. I think offensively they might be okay. I mean, Zach Wilson is a downgrade from Aaron Rodgers. We get all of that. But if they have the running backs like they do with Dalvin Cook and Round, and then you have Garrett Wilson, who is putting himself in that conversation of best receiver in the NFL, they have some talent there to make some things happen. Are they a Super Bowl contender? That's going to be tough. You know, I think with Rodgers, they would have been in the conversation. But can this team still finish with a winning record, be a playoff team, or at least in the running for the playoffs? Possibly. And I think that all can take place, but not this week. You have the letdown of Rodgers being out, and now you got to go to Dallas. And I know Dallas are front runners, and we want to talk about a letdown. You go for Monday night defeating your rival in New York 40-0, and then you come home and all the accolades. Cowboys are back. This is their year. They're going to win the championship. And the letdown factor is real, I think. And that Jets defense is going to keep it close for 3 quarters. And then I think in the fourth quarter, the Cowboys find a way to get some more points, wear down that defense, because I don't think the Jets' offense is going to be able to produce much against Dallas's defense. And that's when you start. This game will be a 34-17 type contest. And that's where, if they get to 17 points, the Jets, honestly, I think that -9 is a good number. I think the Cowboys do win by double digits and get the victory. They really put themselves in the conversation among the top teams in the NFC. And they got to keep winning too because Philadelphia is now 2-0. San Francisco is probably going to be 2-0 as well. Yeah, so if they want to put themselves in that position in contendership for a high playoff seed, these type of games you got to win. You got to handle an inferior quarterback team at home, and I think Dallas does that handily. Denver 3-point favorites at home against Washington. I'll take Russell Wilson and Sean Payton in that combo over Ron Rivera and Sam Howell, the rookie quarterback. I mean, Denver is going to be one of those enigma teams. I think some weeks they're going to look really, really good. Some weeks they're going to struggle. This week, I think, is a good one for them. So I take the Broncos in that one, especially at home. Let's see. Miami is a 3-point favorite on the road against New England. If Tua's healthy, the Dolphins can win a championship. I just said it. I just worry about him being healthy for an entire season to get him to that championship level. And he looked amazing last week against the Chargers. 400 plus yards passing. Tyreek Hill is he. I was watching Chad Ochocinco and Shannon Sharp's. I don't know what they're calling it. Their Sunday night podcast or show. Club Shay Shay with and respect to Shannon for doing his thing with that and expanding the brand. They had a conversation about Tyreek Hill getting 2,000 receiving yards. And you think to yourself, man, there's no way. That's so many yards. But I think in that offense, it's possible because they're going to target him a lot. And he has the ability to rack up yardage. It's like a play that is for 5 yards, he goes for 20, goes for 25. He just has that ability to extend plays and get extra yardage. And all those yards add up over time. And 2,000 might be a little lofty of a goal, but that just shows the potential with that team. I think going to New England, this is a statement game for them to win. I'm not. I don't like the Steel. I mean, I don't like the Patriots at all this year. For some reason, and I heard Kurt Herbstreit last night in the Philadelphia contest against Minnesota, talking up Mac Jones, talking up the Patriots, saying that they might be sneaky good this year. No, they're not. Like they are what they are. Defensively, yes, they're gonna be solid. They're gonna be competent. But offensively, they just are not going to score a lot of points. Is that Mac Jones' fault? Is that the offensive coordinator fault? With Bill O'Brien not being back in New England in the offensive role as an assistant coach? I don't know whose fault it is, but I just don't see them scoring enough points to be competitive in a lot of these contests. I don't think they're going to lose. They're not going to turn the ball over. You think for the most part, they're going to be play fundamental, but it comes down to talent a lot of times too. And I look at that New England roster, and it's just not there. And I think the Dolphins have the better roster. I think the better quarterback. I will not say better coaching. I'm not going to just insult Bill Belichick's entire resume as far as what he's done. But I think that's where you see the Dolphins are going to win this contest by more than 3 points. I think the Dolphins win the game pretty handily, to be honest with you. So that's my pick there. Let's see the Monday night games. New Orleans 3-point favorite at Carolina. I'll take the Saints. I think Carr's a better quarterback than Young. I think Carolina is just in that rebuild moment now. Maybe they'll be hyped for Monday Night Football in Carolina, but I just take the Saints -3 in that one. And then Pittsburgh's a 2.5-point favorite at home against Cleveland. I think that none of these teams are going to be playoff teams. The Browns might be intriguing if Deshaun Watson can go back to his form. People forget in Texas, or Houston Texans, he was a top 5 quarterback as far as offensive production and skill set. So he's right there. He just hasn't played consistent football in 3 years. Obviously, off the field matters were a big factor in that. His departure from the Texans and then Cleveland. He played a little bit last year, like the last, I think, 4 or 6 games, but did not look inspired. But I think with the full off season, uh, no off-field distraction as far as being suspended. I don't know what he does in personal life, but as far as no suspension looming, he's done his suspension time. I think he can have a pretty solid year for the Browns. Having said all of that, I still think the Steelers win this contest. This is a season make or break for them. I know it's only week 2, but if you lose your first 2 home games, not only to San Francisco, which I guess there's not much shame in that, but to a division rival, that's not a good start to the season. I think Pittsburgh finds a way to put it all together and get a victory there. All right, so those are my thoughts on week 2 of the NFL season, or preview of it. To follow everything that we do, head to the mothership, to sportsinquirer.net, to see everything that we have going on. Follow our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And then finally, find us on Spotify, Spotify for podcasters, SoundCloud, YouTube, Google Podcast, iTunes, and more. Until next time, good fight, good night, and be safe.